Released in 2017, Fortnite is one of the most popular games of all time, and throughout its 7+ years of existence, there has been plenty of controversies throughout, and this Iceberg chart created by VisiblePhone7003 on Reddit and partially by myself documents it all. For those unaware, the entries near the top of the chart are things that are either well known or relatively fresh in the minds of the community, while the entries near the bottom are things that are obscure, forgotten, or just really morbid in nature. With all that said, now to the Iceberg. The turbo build nerf was a near unanimously hated change made to the turbo building feature in Season X of Fortnite. In patch 10.2 released on August 27, 2019, Epic Games changed the time between subsequent turbo build placements from 1/200th of a second to just 0.15 seconds. To give you an idea how significant the nerf was, the new 0.15 second delay was 30 times slower than the old 0.005 second delay, and anyone who tried the change immediately felt how awful and clunky it was. Epic's main reasons for implementing the change was to counteract the effects low ping had on taking walls as well as giving turtling a slight nerf, but it was safe to say the community did not receive this change well, and upon its debut, it quickly became one of the most hated changes in history, with pros, content creators, and even casual players all united on the front to get Epic to revert the change. Unfortunately, just a day later on August 28th, Epic reverted the change. Upon the release of Chapter 5, Epic Games overhauled Fortnite's movement. Epic Games did this in order to make movement smoother as well as introduce more decision making into the movement. They made the default run, sprint, and crouch speeds lower, but made stamina recover faster in order to compensate. They also made the backwards walk speed faster as well. Along with these changes was an overhaul to the animations, designed to give Fortnite's movement a more realistic tone to fit in with the direction the game was taking at the time. When players got around to trying out the new changes, many hated it. The initial changes to the movement were so bad that many thought the changes weren't even intentional and that it was a bug, but Epic would later clarify in a statement that it was intentional and it was a change that would take some time to get used to. Now, while this change hasn't been fully reverted these days, Epic Games met the player base in the middle and eventually made some changes to the movement. But worst of all with this controversy was what happened to the lead developer behind it, Colin Friday. Colin received an immense storm of hate from Twitter, which eventually escalated to death threats. He eventually deactivated the comments on his original post talking about the change because of how bad the backlash was. Due to its insane virality, Fortnite has seen plenty of content creators jump ship and start making Fortnite videos, and this has attracted plenty of creators who are known for making clickbaity videos. Some notorious examples include Ali, Lispy Jimmy, and all of the various clip channels that exaggerate drama. Free Fortnite was a movement started by Epic Games themselves in August of 2020 in light of their lawsuit against Apple. Epic sued Apple and Google as they believed they were breaking antitrust laws with how they ran their app stores on their respective platforms. In order to kickstart the lawsuit, Epic intentionally broke the App Store rules by redirecting consumers to their own payment service as opposed to Apple's. Unsurprisingly, Fortnite was pulled from the App Store and Epic used this as justification to rally the community with #FreeFortnite. In short, Epic mostly lost the original lawsuit, both sides appealed, the Supreme Court denied the appeal, and now various world entities such as the EU are cracking down on Apple, so it seems like Epic won out in the end. Double Pump was an infamous weapon combo back in the earlier days of Fortnite where you could wield two pump shotguns and rapidly swap between them in order to cancel out the built-in pump delay. The community was very divided on the issue, but in the end, Epic patched it out of the game by introducing a forced reload when swapping from pump to pump specifically, while the tack plus pump combo remained. Interestingly, Epic revamped the weapon swapping system in patch 3.5 and unintentionally brought back double pump, albeit a bit slower. However, with the launch of Season 5, Epic put the nail in the coffin for all double shotgun combos by introducing a forced firing delay upon switching to a different shotgun. Like any other game in the modern day, Fortnite utilizes FOMO tactics in order to entice people to buy cosmetics. The Battle Pass is a prime example of this, where if you don't finish your Battle Pass in the allotted time, you can never get the skin ever again. However, this has somewhat been alleviated with Fortnite's new change to allow newer Battle Pass skins to be re-released in the shop later down the line. Chapter 5 Season 3 likely takes the crown as the most controversial Fortnite season of all time. Chapter 5 was widely seen as underwhelming up until that point and the community was at an all-time low, and Epic of course decides to drop one of the worst seasons of all time. broken cars with so much access to healing that they were practically invincible, the Nitro effect which instantly destroyed all builds you touched, and Nitro Fist with auto-aim. However, the hatred of Season 3 wasn't unanimous. Many casual players defended the season and loved it. This led to an all-out casual versus competitive war, where casual players who played pubs all day tried to lecture signed professional players on how these additions were balanced, while competitive players just generally acted extremely toxic towards a casual audience just trying to have fun. In the end, Epic ended up nerfing most of the broken features and removing most of them from competitive, as it should have been from the start. Fortnite is well known for importing mainstream iconography into their games, and oftentimes it's without permission. This has led to various lawsuits, with famous examples being 2 Milli and Fresh Prince actor Alfonso Ribeiro suing Epic Games for stealing their dances. Epic fired back stating that, quote, no one can own a dance step, and in the end, most of these lawsuits were either dropped or thrown out. In May of 2024, Epic Games removed the tiered rarity system from all cosmetics. In their words, it is because the item shop now, quote, supports multiple types of cosmetics and items across games. Many players disliked the change, talking about how it actually cluttered the UI more by messing up the old assortment of skins in their lockers. Additionally, players theorized that this was an excuse for Epic to get away with price gouging. In the end, Epic dispelled the rumors, stating that they just wanted to simplify the locker, but judging by how most UIs in the game are a mess to this day, the player base isn't buying it. A couple of days after the release of OG Fortnite, Epic enabled bots in it. This sparked community-wide outrage as it pretty much ruined any feeling of soul in the mode, but it seems that Epic are adamant on keeping them in, as to this day, OG Fortnite is still flooded with bots. Like the majority of PvP games with controller support, Fortnite has aim assist, but at many points in Fortnite's history, aim assist has been way too strong. For a period of about a year from September 2019 to the end of 2020, aim assist was especially busted. At one point, anywhere from 70 to 88% of the lobby of FNCS finals were controller players. Despite aim assist being a clear problem, almost all controller players vehemently defended it, which sparked a war on inputs among players. But over the years, Epic has nerfed aim assist hard both directly and indirectly, to the point where in the most recent global LAN, only 5% of players were on controller, which is still more than the number of viewers subscribed to my channel, but you can change that by liking and subscribing if you so wish. Along with the controversial movement changes, Chapter 5 also introduced bullet drop to Fortnite. Up until that point, Fortnite's weapons were all hit scan with randomized bloom, but when Chapter 5 released, all weapons were now projectile based with minimal bloom, which introduced a new skill set into Fortnite of leading your bullets. This change was pretty controversial, with good arguments from both sides. Many argued in favor of the changes, stating bullet drop was more skillful and also solved the issue of storm surge thresholds in competitive being way too high, while those who opposed the changes argued that bullet drop was clunky and didn't work in a game like Fortnite, where the primary skill set is building as opposed to shooting. For the longest time, cheaters in Fortnite were a non-issue. Easy anti-cheat was rock solid and most players could testify they saw very few cheaters in the golden days of 2018. But beginning around mid-2022, the anti-cheat began showing cracks. Fast forward to 2024 and beyond, and cheating has gotten out of hand in Fortnite. From hackers qualifying to major LANs, to signed professional players not being banned for playing tournaments with cheaters, this put the community up in arms about Epic's lack of competence about banning cheaters, which is understandable. In late 2022, the FTC found Epic Games responsible of allegations relating to predatory monetization practices. The FTC ordered Epic to pay out a sum of $245 million to all persons affected. Applications to be eligible to earn money were open from September 2023 to February of 2024, so hopefully any of you that applied were paid out. With the debut of Season X, Epic Games added the Brute vehicle to the game, and the outrage this addition caused was pretty much unprecedented in gaming. The community unanimously hated the mechs, with hashtag #RemoveTheMech trending #1 worldwide on Twitter, and in typical Epic fashion, they doubled down on the addition and buffed the mechs in response. This only ramped up the community outrage more, and eventually, Epic settled and nerfed the mechs into the ground. Fracture was a live event that ended Chapter 3 of Fortnite. With the way Epic was hyping the event up, many players were expecting it to be as grand as the Season X end event. However, when the time came, players were disappointed to say the least. The event was a glorified chore simulator, with only the last minute of it actually being something of substance. The community was not happy, and for the next few days, Fortnite social media was filled with testimonials from players about how awful the event was. Planes were a vehicle added in Season 7 of Chapter 1. What made them controversial was that they were the first true vehicle in Fortnite. Unlike previous vehicles such as the quad crashers, planes were not held back by clunky driving mechanics. Not only was the height limit generous for planes, but their dive bombing capabilities were also way too overpowered for Fortnite. This led to planes ruining many competitive tournaments as well as casual players' matches. They were later removed with the launch of Season 8 though. The Travis Scott skin is one of the most popular cosmetics in Fortnite. However, ever since the infamous November 2021 Astroworld concert that saw the deaths of 10 individuals due to crowd crush, the skin hasn't returned to the shop. This has led many to believe that Epic secretly blacklisted the skin from ever returning, and despite the community begging for it to return, it never has. However, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney confirmed that the skin isn't blacklisted and could make a return. The more likely reason it hasn't returned is that it isn't Fortnite IP. Epic would likely need the approval of Travis Scott to bring the skin back. The Imposters game mode was a not so subtle copy of Among Us, which a year prior was a game that took over the world. Despite falling off significantly, Epic still seemed content with attempting to copy the mode. The mode was pretty well received and it garnered a small dedicated fanbase. However, it was eventually shut down as Epic simply favored working on other projects. This stirred up a lot of controversy with that dedicated fanbase, disappointed that the mode was just abruptly removed. Similar to the aforementioned Fracture event, Live at Risky Reels was another live event disappointment in Fortnite history. Leading up to the event, Fortnite was in a content drought, as in a 2-month span from October to December of 2019, the only content Fortnite received was the harpoon gun, so it was safe to say that players were very excited to watch. However, when the actual event happened, it was pretty clear that it was just a Star Wars ad and most people hated it. Zero War was a comic series that Fortnite and Marvel made in collaboration with each other in mid-2022. It was controversial for 2 reasons. First is that many players said the comic just sucked. The writing was bad and you could tell it was haphazardly thrown together as there were many war inaccuracies. Second was that the comic came with a redemption code for a skin inside, which is not something players took too kindly to. In June of 2020, Epic Games made the announcement of the future of Save the World. They stated that Save the World would leave early access and permanently stay as a paywalled game. Additionally, updates for Save the World would slow down and all future events would be recycled content as opposed to new content. And finally, anyone who purchased Save the World from that point onward couldn't earn V-Bucks from it, essentially deleting the one feature that motivated Battle Royale players to try out Save the World. This came with lots of backlash from the Save the World player base, who eventually got hashtag #SaveSaveTheWorld trending on Twitter. The Infinity Blade was Epic's first attempt at adding weapons that transcended legendary rarity, but it was a huge flop. While there was only one on the map, its abilities were hugely overtuned and many players found it unfun to play against. Worst of all was that Epic let the sword be in the Winter Royale 2018 tournament on NA, which ruined the entire thing. All of this drama eventually got Epic to walk back their addition of the Blade, later repurposing it for an LTM game mode. In recent years, Epic has gotten very ambitious with their vision of the metaverse. Essentially, Epic Games wants Fortnite to exist as a platform to host various forms of media on it, as opposed to just being a video game. LEGO Fortnite, Rocket Racing, and UEFN are the main aspects of it. However, a good portion of the player base despises this due to the negative changes it brings. It seems that in an effort to fulfill this metaverse dream, Epic has negatively impacted many aspects of Fortnite as well as their other games. The Pit was a Fortnite map created by Gearsy, which is based off of the popular Minecraft server Hypixel's own Pit game mode. The map was a huge success, which led many other creators such as CypherPK to make their own versions of it as well. However, Gearsy didn't take too kindly to this and began sending takedown requests to anyone who made Pit maps, as well as trying to copyright the idea itself. This generated a huge community controversy with many telling Gearsy to let go of the ego, especially because the Pit wasn't even his original idea. Eventually, Gearsy relented on his ridiculous pursuit of control. Gaming addiction just refers to the various controversies over the years between mainstream media, parents, and Fortnite players, with a class action lawsuit that classed Fortnite to be as addictive as cocaine, getting a green light to move on. Fortnite cosmetics are just that, cosmetics, but at various points in the game's history have cosmetics unintentionally affected gameplay to the point where they become pay-to-win advantages. Examples include the Dragacorn glider, which altered the default glider animation so badly to the point where it was impossible to hit you, and the Star Wand pickaxe, which did massively increased damage at one point. With the release of Chapter 2, Epic just stopped releasing patch notes. While they never gave an official reason as to why, it is very likely they did it due to player complaints. Back when Epic released detailed patch notes, players often complained about changes made before even going into the game to try them, which is very annoying to Epic. However, the lack of patch notes has been very detrimental to the game, with players usually having to rely on data miners for detailed changelogs of the game. Despite community uproar, Epic hasn't budged on the issue. UI changes have always been controversial in Fortnite, that is no secret. But the worst of all of these is what Fortnite did to the UI for selecting game modes. Around October of 2023, Fortnite completely overhauled the game mode select UI into the cluttered mess that it is now, and the community was not happy and still is not happy to this day. The Calamity skin was one of the many cosmetics that shipped with the launch of Season 6 and its Battle Pass, but then players quickly found out that the character had actual jiggle physics, and when doing certain emotes, let's just say, cool things happened. Most players found this pretty funny, but being that Fortnite is a game marketed to kids, parents were not happy and Epic subsequently patched it a few days later. Fortnite has had many rare and OG skins over its history, some of which not being obtainable since the game's release in 2017. This has led to account selling black markets springing up, which unfortunately is ripe with scammers. Over the years, there has been a growing battle between older and newer players, with older players arguing that these cosmetics should remain exclusive and never be released again, while newer players argue that it's just pixels on a screen and it really isn't that deep. And while Epic hasn't really publicly shared their stance on this, they have made changes that could suggest their stance on it, such as the Battle Pass skin changes. In November of 2023, Epic Games introduced an age rating system into Fortnite for skins. With the system, a select few cosmetics have been deemed inappropriate for experiences not suitable for players below the age of 10. While the change was niche, Epic wasn't clear in their initial communication of the message, which led many to believe that the change would be way more restrictive. This caused a huge controversy among the community, even after Epic clarified that this will only affect creative mode, and in creative mode would only affect about 7% of maps. Despite this, many people still clowned on Epic for the change. Leakers have always been controversial in gaming, Fortnite included. Many people claim that leakers ruin the surprise factor and excitement of updates, and at some points, Epic has even pursued leakers legally. Speaking of issues that persist across all games, there are sweats. The casual versus competitive divide is one as old as time, with casual players often complaining about, quote, sweaty comp players ruining their fun, while competitive players argue that there is nothing wrong with being good at a video game. But this issue is especially pervasive in Fortnite due to its insane skill ceiling created by building. With the release of Ranked Mode in May of 2023, Epic Games removed trios in order to consolidate the player base and expedite queue times. While this is a reasonable thing to do, many in the community despise the change, especially since larger regions like NA and EU had more than enough active players to have trios stay as a playlist. Ranked Mode was Epic's attempt at fixing the previous competitive playlist, which was Arena. However, for the same reasons as Arena, Ranked Mode was also widely perceived as a joke. Bad matchmaking, subpar rewards, and loot pools not being split from pubs were just some of the myriad of issues with Ranked, and unfortunately, it seems that Epic has given up on trying to make Ranked an actual competitive game mode. This relates to the previous Save the World entry. Epic Games stated in 2020 that they were satisfied with the state of Save the World and wouldn't update the story of it any further. Skill-based matchmaking, or more commonly abbreviated to SBMM, is a feature that has been growing in use in the gaming industry over the years. Originally, Fortnite abstained from using it, but with the release of Chapter 2, they introduced it. This change is very controversial, with more skilled players arguing that it made the game way less fun, since every single opponent in their games was tryharding, while lesser skilled players argued it made the game more fun, as it finally gave them a chance to sit back and unwind without having to worry about running into sweaty players. Eventually, Epic met in the middle by removing SBMM from squads, and keeping it in all other playlists. But even to this day, the argument still rages, with many arguing that the proliferation of SBMM ruined gaming as a whole. In Fortnite's earlier days, the game was controversial due to its competition with PUBG. Many people took to making fun of the game, calling it a PUBG ripoff, but this climaxed in May of 2018 when the South Korean-based PUBG developer Bluehole filed a lawsuit against Epic Games, stating that Fortnite was a ripoff of PUBG. However, the grounds for the suit were pretty weak, and just a month later, it was dropped. AI zombies were first added to Fortnite in the inaugural Fortnite Mayor's update in October of 2018. Many players found the zombies annoying though, due to how frequently they spawned and ruined games. Despite this, Epic repeatedly added them back into the game, which is not only annoying for some players, but has caused extreme balancing issues for competitive as well, with Retail Row essentially being an automatic win spot for competitive players in 2019. In August of 2024, Epic Games added the Tesla Cybertruck as a drivable vehicle into Fortnite, and if you know anything about Tesla and its CEO Elon Musk, it is easy to see why this was controversial. Immediately after it was added, players were not happy, so to protest, they decided to unlock the Cybertruck with the free challenges and then proceed to destroy it in the game as a sort of symbolic protest, which is very respectable. In Season 4, Fortnite added the first skins with built-in leveling progression to them. Among these skins was the Omega. By default, the Omega skin had a glowing orange trim, but if you reach level 80, you unlock the other 3 color variations. Players that had the time to play Fortnite a lot got the lights without issue. However, a large part of the community couldn't get the lights, mostly due to time constraints. This caused a pretty big controversy similar to that of the OG skins. Epic never responded to it though and just left it at that, and nowadays, the Omega Lights are looked back at fondly by players from both sides. When UEFN launched for Fortnite, many creators jumped on the wave of recreating older Fortnite maps so they could once again be experienced. However, Epic were strict on enforcing their copyright protections on these maps and disallowed any variations of previous maps to be uploaded. While they made an exception for the Chapter 1 map, a good portion of the community was still displeased with Epic's handling of the situation. In early 2023, Fortnite added game servers to Texas in order to form the NA Central region. With this change, competitive Fortnite for NA was now united under one banner as opposed to being split east and west. This change was very controversial though, since those who previously had good ping living on the coast were now getting upwards of 50 ping to central servers, and if you're Canadian, then you're basically shit out of luck. But Epic seems adamant on pushing central, as in the recent launch of Chapter 6, they once again split NA into 2 regions, this time between West and Central, which if you look at a population density map of the US and Canada, this change makes absolutely no sense. So to this day, there is still community outrage over the change. LTMs were a cornerstone of early Fortnite. They provided an alternative playlist option to players who just wanted a kickback or were maybe looking for something fresh. Some of the most beloved examples include Solid Gold, One Shot, and 50v50. However, around 2022, LTMs began to be phased out, eventually disappearing entirely. This has caused many in the community to be disappointed at Epic, pleading for Epic to bring back some kind of LTM rotation. They were likely removed because Epic just realized they could outsource the creation of these alternative game modes to players via creative mode. The Gunner Pet was a backbling released in August of 2019. The issue with it was that it was nearly identical to the Bonesy backbling that was introduced 10 months prior, in October of 2018. The community were quick to call out Epic for this, and shortly after, Epic removed the Gunner Pet from the game and refunded everyone who bought it. At many points in Fortnite's history, SMGs have taken over the game due to being overtuned. These would commonly be referred to as SMG or spray metas. Examples include Chapter 1 Season 5 with the P90 and drum gun, as well as Chapter 3 Season 1 with the Stinger SMG. Because Fortnite's gunplay is heavily centralized around the use of shotguns, most players despise SMG metas when they happen, and Epic usually gets a ton of backlash as a result. In the earliest days of Fortnite, the pump shotgun for whatever reason did not have a range limit or fall off damage. This meant that you could snipe people for significant chunks of damage from far distances with the pump shotgun. Because of how broken the mechanic was, many players were upset with Epic, and fortunately, Epic patched it out pretty fast. These days, many people have actually grown fond of the sniper pump, as it is now some sort of symbol of OG Fortnite. The guided missile was a weapon added to Fortnite in patch 3.4 on March 28, 2018, and it was immediately controversial, with more skilled players loving it due to how cool the rocket ride tricks you could pull with it are, while lesser experienced players hated it because it was difficult for them to counter. Less than a week later, it was vaulted. After being unvaulted and then vaulted again a couple more times, Epic Games literally deleted it from the files in patch 7.3. The weapon was no longer accessible even in creative, which in an ironic turn of events sparked another controversy, this time with players upset that Epic removed the item from creative. Fortunately for the guided missile lovers out there, it was added back to the files in November of last year, likely to be released in OG Season 3 once that comes out. Sapien is a mechanic that gives you some kind of tangible reward upon killing a player, usually being health or ammo. The mechanic was added to all playlists in February of 2019 and players loved it, but then in April, Epic removed it from pub playlists, leaving it only in competitive playlists, but for some ungodly reason in May of 2023, with the newly added ranked mode, Epic just removed Siphon altogether. And despite the competitive community unanimously hating the change, Epic refused to budge for a very long time. But finally, in late 2024, Epic ran the Siphon trials and it is now officially returned to the game. In June of 2020, players began noticing that police cars once scattered around the Fortnite map were gone. Players speculated it was due to the ongoing political riots happening in the United States, and not long after, Epic confirmed this via the Wall Street Journal. The reactions were mixed, with some indifferent to the change, while others cited that it was ridiculous, since Fortnite was already a game inherently built on shooting and violence anyway. In May of 2019, Fortnite held the Unvaulting event. During the live event, players were teleported into a vault, where they chose between one of 6 items to be unvaulted. Whichever item got the most votes would immediately be unvaulted. In the end, the drum gun won out on the vote, but this was controversial. Pretty much everyone on social media despised the drum gun, yet it somehow won the vote. This has led many to theorize that the event was rigged. While it's unlikely the actual numbers of the event were rigged, it is notable that out of the 6 choices, the drum gun and the bouncers were really the only 2 that players cared about. It seems that Epic purposefully made the vote lopsided in favor of the drum gun, so it would be the easy winner. To add some nuance to the discussion though, you have to remember that most Fortnite players are little Timmies who don't have social media, so not only will they overwhelmingly vote for the noob-friendly drum gun, but they aren't going to be sharing it on social media. In the early days of Fortnite, platforms were kept separate. Consoles, PCs, and mobile all had separate matchmaking. However, at some point, crossplay eventually became forced, meaning no matter what platform you played on, your lobbies would be made up of players from all devices. While the PC players that generally benefited from the change didn't mind, the console and mobile players that got the short end of the stick hated it, and this stirred up much controversy in the community, with players to this day complaining about the addition of forced crossplay. iDrop's Bodies was the winner of the Fortnite Summer Skirmish Week 2. Unlike other tournaments, this one was played in solo pubs, with the goal being to rack up as many kills and wins as possible in your 10 allotted matches, and Bodies dominated the tournament, but this wasn't without controversy. Many analyzed his games and noticed that the players he was facing weren't even fighting back most of the time. This led many to accuse him of getting his friends to feed him kills. Additionally, because Bodies played on Xbox, he only had to face other console players, so his lobbies were much easier than the PC lobbies everyone else was playing. In the end, Epic concluded an official investigation that Bodies did not cheat, but that doesn't put aside the fact that a competitive tournament was played in solo pubs, an absolute disaster. In October of 2024, the Kamala Harris campaign commissioned Muselk's creative map company, Click Creates, to publish a map named Freedom Town USA. The map was made in an effort to mobilize youth voters in the United States. Upon its release, it sparked controversy. Many cited how Epic does have wording in their TOS that prohibits political messaging and calls to action in creative maps. In the end, Epic never said anything about the map and the controversy blew over relatively quick. The mounted turret was a mountable weapon added during Season 6 of Fortnite, and it was clear from the get-go that this thing had no place in the game. The mount had 1000 HP, did 40 damage, fired rapidly, and worst of all, had front-facing protection. This meant that the turret was impossible to fight head-on since you couldn't even shoot back at the player using it. Not long after release, Epic removed the front-facing protection, which relegated it to being one of the worst items in the game. throughout the entirety of Fortnite, but mostly from late 2019 to mid 2020, were wagers, where two opposing players or teams would bet a certain amount of money on an outcome of a 1v1, with the winner getting all of the money. Many pro players such as Twygz and Kanata built their careers off of this, so when Epic banned them in early 2021, it caused a massive uproar, with the phrase "RIP Fortnite" getting trending on Twitter. But this hasn't affected the community long term, as most pros these days still do wagers, but just call them tokens instead. Icy5 was a small YouTuber who briefly soared in fame in late 2018 after Ninja reported him for stream sniping. Ninja claimed the manner in which Icy5 killed him in the game was indicative of stream sniping behavior. The community was not on Ninja's side though and lambasted him for doing so, saying he was abusing his power as a streamer. However, the real truth about the situation is somewhat unknown. Icy5 had previous uploads on his channel of him killing Dr. Lupo and King Richard, which was pretty suspicious. With the launch of Chapter 2, Epic increased the chest spawn rate to 100%, and players loved this change, with looting now being a much more consistent experience, but for some unknown reason, Epic reverted the change a year later in November of 2020, and since then, chest spawns have been RNG. This change received immense backlash, especially because Epic never gave a reason for doing so. The only plausible reason was to prevent teaming, as pro players could easily premeditate looting routes at POIs to split them without fighting each other. Rainbow Royale is an annual event that since 2021 has always happened around the end of July. The event was created in order to celebrate LGBT pride by offering free rainbow themed cosmetics, and with all things LGBT pride related, it was controversial. Even putting the obvious homophobia aside, the event is still controversial. Some people cite how the event is just tacky and feels more like a corporate marketing stunt than anything that actually cares for LGBT people. The default dance originally had 3 tracks to it, but around sometime in early 2018, one of them was removed. It was removed because it was too similar to the guitar track played in George Michael's song Faith. This one is less controversial and more so just sad. The change went undocumented in the patch notes and many in the community were disheartened at its removal. When Creative Mode launched in December of 2018, Epic also introduced a POI to the map known as The Block. The POI was special in that each week it would entirely change, with player-made creations from Creative Mode being selected to feature on it, and at first this went smoothly, but in April of 2019, a POI called Mysterious Mansion was introduced. At first, all was fine. It seemed like a well-made spooky mansion, but when explored, players found a pretty dark scene. In the basement, a kicked-over chair alongside a rope tied in a very particular way was seen. The community were quick to make a scene out of this, and eventually it got mainstream attention. Not long after, Epic replaced the map, much to the dismay of its creator. Ronaldo and Ziff are former professional Fortnite players, but what they are most well known for was their cheating scandal in the Fortnite World Cup. In Week 3, Ziff managed to qualify for the New York Finals by placing second, but upon analysis of his games, it was clear that he was being fed kills. Ziff, along with Ronaldo and all parties involved, were given a 2-week ban. However, they were still allowed to play all subsequent qualifiers once their ban was up, and in Week 8 of the qualifiers, the community's worst nightmare became a reality when Ronaldo and Ziff managed to qualify for the New York Finals. While they did do it fair and square this time around, the community was not happy. Almost everyone in the scene was disgusted that Epic let known cheaters play the other qualifiers, with many of the game's largest creators like Dr. Lupo and Nick Merck speaking out about it. Coral Castle was a POI added in Fortnite in Chapter 2, infamous for being the worst POI in Fortnite history, but that was the least of its worries. In August of 2020, the owners of a Florida landmark also named Coral Castle sued Epic for copyright infringement. However, the lawsuit was eventually withdrawn and likely settled outside of court a few months later. Rue was a skin in Fortnite added in Chapter 2 Season 2, but what made it controversial is that players quickly noticed the skin's resemblance to apparel worn by a particular group of individuals in 1940s Germany. The coat and insignia on the coat bore shocking resemblance to those 1940s German outfits. While Epic never publicly addressed the backlash, Fortnite leaker Hypex said that Epic did know about the controversy and blacklisted the skin from ever being released again because of it. As most players know, the Orange Justice emote was added to Fortnite after widespread community outrage at Epic for not picking his dance to be in the game, but once Epic added the emote, everyone was happy. However, in January of 2019, the mother of the kid would file a lawsuit against Epic claiming that they exploited his likeness for their own profit, but it was clear that this was an attempt at making some quick cash, as the kid's mother likely saw what was happening with all the other lawsuits 1 month prior. But the nail in the coffin for the mother was that the dance wasn't even an original creation. The dance was actually the original creation of a rapper named Roy Purdy, and of course, this turned the entire community against the orange shirt kid since they now felt betrayed by the revelation. Most people watching probably know about China's strict censorship laws when it comes to anything relating to media, video games included, so in order to get Fortnite onto the Chinese market, Epic Games created a separate version of Fortnite called Fortnite China. The game functioned very differently from the version the rest of the world plays, and it was strange to say the least. Unfortunately for the players of China, Epic discontinued it in November of 2021, deleting all player progress with it. While backlash was limited due to Chinese players not being able to access Western social media apps, it is pretty safe to assume that they were not happy. In the early days of Fortnite, if you edited 4 metal floors into the shape of a circle, it would form an offensive symbol in the middle. The symbol was commonly used by a certain group of hateful individuals in 1940s Germany. Eventually, an official Epic employee responded to the Reddit thread that exposed the situation, and a week later, it was patched out. For a period of about a month in early 2024, low-effort swap maps with derogatory names and AI-generated thumbnails intended to be racist caricatures swarmed creative mode, and the map that started it all was Jamaica's Own Wars. Eventually, an investigation done by Kotaku into the matter went somewhat viral, and Epic Games couldn't stay silent on the matter anymore. A few days after the article was published, Epic banned all the offending maps and have since ramped up their quality control. For the 2023 rendition of Rainbow Royale, one of the skins set to release was Harmony Lee, a skin made in collaboration with a Fortnite creator named Shy Not Fury, but it later came out that the creator in question admitted to sending inappropriate messages to a 13-year-old when they were 17 years old. This led Epic to pulling the skin, and to this day it has not been released. This has upset many players out there who love the skin, but now will never get to use it due to the creator associated with it being a reprehensible human being. Denny is a Fortnite artist who has done a wide variety of things in the Fortnite community. His biggest accomplishments include getting a few of his skin concepts as official skins in the game, such as the Isabelle skin, but there is a darker side to Denny that makes him quite the controversial figure. First is that he is just generally regarded as an ass, with no shortage of toxic outbursts made against others on Twitter, but much worse were his bombastic outbursts of blatant racism. I'll leave some of the tweets on screen to read because I am not reading these out myself. As stated earlier, when Fortnite debuted the Rainbow Royale event, there was no shortage of people being ignorant to the whole thing, and one of those individuals was a popular creator named Awa. Under the official tweet for the Rainbow Royale event, Awa simply commented, "Oh no." When further questioned in a reply, Awa said, quote, "This is just against nature," end quote. While not being abhorrently homophobic, the comment rubbed many the wrong way and should have never been said. Once the controversy went viral, Epic removed all of Awa's maps and revoked his creator code, but just a few days later after he apologized, Epic reinstated his code, which made many in the community furious. Tabor Hill is a Fortnite YouTuber who is most well known for just generally covering recent news and stories, but in late 2020, old tweets that he made about Etika resurfaced. For those who don't know, Etika was a beloved content creator mainly known for his very animated attitude and videos on Nintendo games. Sadly, he took his own life in June of 2019 after a long battle with depression and other mental health struggles. Upon the news of his death breaking, Tabor Hill tweeted that Etika was, quote, "not a hero and a coward who took the coward's way out. This is just an arrogant take on the situation," and many agreed. In April of 2021, popular pro player Twygz posted a copy pasta on Twitter that got his supporter creator code taken away. I won't read the tweet, but it's on screen if you want to read it for yourself. While many didn't really mind the tweet since it was just a copy pasta, the resulting fallout from his creator code getting removed was very controversial. Younger individuals and those closer to Twygz thought Epic went too far, while more mature individuals saw it as Epic making an example of Twygz as to how pro players should behave. Raulzito was a Fortnite streamer who was very popular with the Brazilian fanbase, but in mid-2021, it came out that he had R-worded a 10-year-old and a 14-year-old. Raulzito uses online fame and promised to the kids, who were child actors, access to jobs in the media industry as well as TV fame. Put 2 and 2 together and you can likely make out what happened. Thankfully, he was apprehended by the Brazilian authorities and promptly put in jail, though it is unknown exactly what charges he was sentenced for, as well as how much time he is serving. Mr. Deadmoth was a small streamer and content creator from Australia, but in 2018, his name would be all over the media after he had done some truly reprehensible stuff live on stream. While streaming Fortnite, his wife asked him to get off the game and eat dinner with her and their kid. Instead of reacting normally, Mr. Deadmoth would begin yelling back at her and eventually got up and started slapping her. Luckily, some viewers of the stream alerted Australian authorities and he was subsequently arrested. Chibi was a popular Fortnite streamer who was well known with the competitive community, but in April of 2020, it came out that for pretty much all of 2019, she had been in multiple relationships with underage boys. Some instances include paying for one player's ticket to TwitchCon so they could meet up, as well as living in the same house as 2 underage Fortnite pros. Shortly following the news of this breaking, Chibi disappeared from social media and her whereabouts are unknown. With the direction Fortnite is going nowadays, many have theorized that Epic is trying to kill Battle Royale in order to fulfill their vision of creating a metaverse. Many have pointed to Disney acquiring its stake in Epic, as well as the release of game modes such as Rocket Racing and LEGO that suggests that Epic has likely just grown out of Battle Royale, and it is not unreasonable to think this either, as this is exactly what happened to save the world. In November of 2018, a cybersecurity company informed Epic Games of a severe login exploit. The exploit allowed malicious actors to easily steal login details and payment information of any player they desired, and for whatever reason, Epic was silent and took a whole 2 months to publicly acknowledge the exploit, putting many players in danger. This led to a class action lawsuit being filed, as well as lots of backlash. As for the lawsuit though, it was likely dropped as no further detail can ever be found on it today. And that is it for the Iceberg. Thank you so much if you stuck around to the end, as this video was a long one. If you enjoyed this video, then check out my second channel linked below, or the other videos on your screen now.